So if you've got a decision-making bottleneck, the reality is that you're then going to get back to clients less quickly. The team members are going to end up waiting for your decision making. So it ends up slowing progress down within a project, which then makes clients feel like they're not being paid attention to, which then makes them more anxious and then makes them reach out more frequently, which makes it more problematic in the entirety of the relationship. Hey everyone, bottlenecks don't show up when things are quiet. They show up when things are working. More deals are closing, more work is coming in, the team is getting busier, and then something just starts to feel off. Work kind of just slows down. Communication feels like it's getting messier. You're stepping into more than you feel like you should be. Things that you had previously stepped out of. Nothing is completely broken, but everything feels a little bit harder than it used to. And that's because the real constraint in business doesn't appear all at once. They build quietly in the background, and by the time you feel them, they've already been there for a while. They've been amassing and causing little aspects of irritation. So I want to talk about, and Darren and I want to talk today about what exactly are these bottlenecks and how do you go about identifying them, making sure that you're managing them as quickly as you possibly can so that you aren't in these places. The reality of how I see bottlenecks is that they're really lag indicators. You feel them late because you have had there's just this small little irritation. It's not really a bottleneck right now in this exact moment today. It is not actually a bottleneck. It becomes a bottleneck as it continues to amass and you have 10 or 15 of the exact same problem all at the same time. But if you only have one of them, it actually isn't necessarily a problem. And so they start small and then they compound. And then your growth, the faster that you're growing, the more that it ends up being revealed that it is a meaningful problem. And so it doesn't actually create them. It's just highlighting a problem that already previously existed within your agency.
Yeah, I feel like every time there is a mild irritation, like very mild, it's like, oh yeah, I can just do this really quickly. That definitely compiles when it's 10 of those. Like, oh yeah, I could just oh, whoa, what?
I can't do 10 of them quickly.
I can't do 10 of them quickly. And it's like, now I have to reframe my whole day. Things are starting to pile up in other areas. And then you realize it's like, oh, this actually needs to be something that gets fixed. So whereas either I'm not doing it, we can have a system that better addresses this what was a mild irritation and unlocks that new level of my agency or new level of this system overall. Because where something is oh yeah, I could just really quickly manually move one number to the next number. But definitely it's very easy when it's just one time. But when it comes to 100 times, 200 times, it's okay, yeah, this we need to figure out something. But it definitely always happens at the worst moments. When I say worst moments, is when everything is working. It's oh, this should be flowing well. I should have time for this. And it's something that you notice, but you don't address at the time because it's very, very mild as an irritation typically.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted so that it can frame the rest of the conversation, I'm going to quickly go through 5 of how I see the core kind of bottleneck areas and a couple of pieces that hit into them. And then we're going to talk about each one of them a little bit more in depth. So first being lead generation, most common, you're working potentially in too many channels. You're not quite focused specifically in one. You're not consistent enough about what you're doing, or you may have an over-reliance on referrals without a system around them that you're just kind of waiting for them to come in. Then you have sales, which most often is poor qualification, weak positioning, or you don't have a system. You're doing every single one of these calls in a different mechanism. Don't have a system by which you're doing it. Delivery, you don't have a standardization. Everything is bespoke. You're completely dependent on you or a specific team member, so key man or woman risk within the organization. You have inconsistency to the outcomes that you're providing to clients. Operationally, you're not clear on capacity and margins. You don't have a meaningful management layer, so you grew quickly and you have too many people that are directly reporting to you or to one individual. That ends up creating for decision bottlenecks. And then tech and just general systems, so automation and technology. Disconnected tools, no real-time data. It takes a long time to get to the core of what the problem is, and a lot of manual processes everywhere throughout the organization. So those are the core 5 different buckets and a couple of small examples of what those actually look like. And I wanted to just hit them kind of briefly, and then we can talk about each one of them. Darren, anything that you think maybe I missed?
No, I think you kind of touched on them. My favorite one is typically the sales bottleneck, is because anytime there's a phone call or something, there's motion. And so it feels like you're doing something. But the
Mm,
poor qualification one is definitely one that hits like, it's like, oh yeah, I'll just take this phone call. Oh yeah, I'll just take this phone call. And then you get on a call with somebody who may be in your right niche, but underqualified or unable to pay you. And so you're spending copious amounts of time just giving out kind of free services or giving out free just advice, and really just it's free to them, but it's costing you, right? It's costing you your time. It's costing you your ability. Like what you say no to allows for more people who are qualified to come in the door, right? It's not being mean in a sense where it's like, I don't want to work with you because you're too small. It's more so like, hey, listen, you're not in the range of somebody we can work with currently. It wouldn't make sense for either of us. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. But like I said, typically those ones like feels like motion, feels like I'm doing something. So it makes me feel good. But like at the end of the day, it's like it's really just taking time away from you, taking time away from your business, taking time away from the actual growth that you're trying to achieve.
100%. The one of the things that I just want to point out for anyone listening right now, in each one of these different 5 bottlenecks, we actually did an episode specifically of how to identify the bottlenecks within these different 5 categories earlier in the season. It's specifically around what the growth problems are and identifying those growth problems. So go check that out if you're wanting to have a bit more of an understanding of how to actually go through figuring out within each one of these different 5 areas what are the core of them. The things that I see as really being the most dangerous of these bottlenecks really is the owner or management bottleneck, right? Where you have decision making bottleneck where you're not able to actually grow, and it actually creates for a cascading number of problems and other bottlenecks. The expectation misalignment is one of the core biggest ones, because then it creates for, again, another cascading problem in what's happening. And I'm going to hit them a little bit more in depth in a second, but each one of these has the same kind of thing and why these are the most dangerous ones that I'm identifying. Then you have capacity or resource planning has a huge piece, and then the lack in systems. So, and I'm going to hit why, and they all kind of have the exact same thing where they end up impacting every single component of the business. So owner bottleneck or key person bottleneck, expectation misalignment, capacity problems, and then system problems. So if you've got a decision-making bottleneck, the reality is that you're then going to get back to clients less quickly. The team members are going to end up waiting for your decision making. So it ends up slowing progress down within a project, which then makes clients feel like they're not being paid attention to, which then makes them more anxious and then makes them reach out more frequently, which makes it more problematic in the entirety of the relationship. Same thing kind of happens with expectation misalignment. If they believe that they're supposed to get something that they're not getting, it means that they're going to reach out more. It ends up taking more time. They're going to end up becoming more annoying to you and to your team because they are feeling like they're not actually getting what they're paying for. And so they're going to end up taking up more of your team's time. You're going to spend more time trying to make the relationship right than actually delivering on the product, which then makes the actual outcome less likely because you're spending more time in account management than you're actually spending doing the work that you're supposed to be doing. Then in capacity planning, the same thing is effectively as the owner or management bottleneck or decision-making bottleneck, in that you are in a place where you don't have enough team members to get the work done. So that means that you're responding to people less quickly. You're having issues in the actual work product because you're not able to work in the same kind of timeline that you should have been. And the exact same thing is true for the lack of systems and repeatability in the work.
Yeah, I think the common thread through all of them is that they compile or pile on at the back end, right? Because of just that, and that's really what a bottleneck is. It's just like, hey, there's this choke point, and it typically ends up being with that one person, right? And it does get hidden by either low volume in the beginning, but I mean, a lot of times as well, you have people who are able to manage those efficiencies a little bit, and so it just hides it for even longer. And then so fun times to find out where a bottleneck is when somebody goes on vacation and it's like, oh, they're that one person that knows how to do everything, and they were the one person, and then you see it and like it reveals itself even more. It's just like that little thread that just kind of unravels when you're like, oh well, John doesn't do it this way, or how oh what oh my goodness, just confusion. And then like you said, it really just instills a, I don't want to say fear, but it instills a confusion with clients, and instills a confusion within the team, and everything just kind of gets backed up of like, okay, well, I thought we were supposed to be doing this. I thought I was supposed to be getting this. And that really just also adds on to the bottleneck as well. Like once you have a bottleneck, it never just stays within that one area. It really just spreads out, right?
100%.
And it just infects kind of a little bit of everything around it, and overall just takes everybody's time away from them.
The thing that I was coming to mind while you were talking was like this kind of concept in that if you're in a place where you don't actually feel like you have a bottleneck today, and I want to point out a couple of things and why you don't end up seeing them early and how you can end up seeing them at the appropriate timeline, is that in a lot of instances, you don't actually have a system. You have a tolerance to the frustrations that are going on. And so one of the biggest pieces that you see going on is, the reality of you don't actually have a high enough volume to actually have the bottleneck there. But the thing that I want you to think about with that specific one is that if your utilization, the total amount of hours that you've sold across the agency, if you were to be at full capacity, so let's say that at an 80 or 85% utilization across your billable team members, what revenue would that actually mean in a given month? But if you feel busy and you are below a 70% utilization, below a 60% utilization, and you feel inordinately busy, that means that there is a significant inefficiency. And so entirely predicated on you only billing half of your time in order to be able to maintain or sustain that revenue number. So that shows that piece. Darren highlighted one. And what kind of led me to this was that if a team member is out and it ends up breaking everything, that means that you're entirely reliant upon that person. And then finally, which I think is one of the biggest ones that happen throughout several stages, and I victim to this one myself, is that part of entrepreneurship is to give up a piece of yourself, and that the founder ends up absorbing a lot of the pain in those growth cycles. And the reality is that if that is, and there's sometimes aspects to that is true. It's not entirely inaccurate, but we overestimate the amount that should be true. And if that's happening consistently and it's happening too much and for a longer period of time, that means that you're not actually building systems around it, and it will become a bottleneck.
Yeah. And I think that definitely happens on the team side as well, right? Some people have more agency, or they feel like they have more agency over the work that they're doing. So they will take a lot more of the load on themselves to make sure everything is flowing smoothly. And so that's why I fall victim to, like, oh, when somebody's out, like, this needs to happen. And really recognizing that you do need to put a system around the things that you do, right? And making sure that you carve out the time to allow for yourself to free up that bottleneck, right? Because it is going to be something that is repeating. It is ultimately costing as money for you not to fix it, right? So being able to get in there, take a little bit of time off, make sure you're addressing the correct parties. Like, hey, this is going to take a little bit of time or a little bit extra time. Like, just give me a second and make sure that these areas are fixed for you moving forward, right? Because it's better that you fix it then and kind of let people know, rather than it just continue to be that 20 car pileup on the freeway, right?
The thing that I want, the hope for me, at least for you listening today, is how can you identify what can become a bottleneck sooner? And then how do you go about the appropriate mindset or methodology to solving the problem? And what comes to mind is, and I always forget the who this quote is attributed to, but never let a good crisis go to waste. And the foundational idea behind this, right, is that when something comes up that is a problem, it is an opportunity for you to solve for it and actually allow for you to not be in that place anymore. And when these items do come up, is that you do need to leverage them. They are a meaningful opportunity for you and your business to be able to solve for this problem today. And if you're not doing so, then you're actually letting that crisis, that problem, that issue ultimately go to waste. And you don't want to do that. And so whenever something's happening, I want you to think, what is causing this delay? Why did this not happen on time? If there's multiple decisions that are holding up, what exactly can I do to have removed this bottleneck in the process? How can I have made it clear of what would the decision-making criteria ultimately be? Or is this via intention and I needed to do this for X, Y, and Z reason? Or what is my course to being able to remove it? If there is work dependent on one specific person, how can I create redundancy here? And if there is an inconsistency in quality, how do I go about solving for that? What exactly is the parameter in which I need to be solving for that specific problem? And the key thing that I really want you to be thinking about here is when it comes to fixing bottlenecks, don't patch. You need to actually fix the system. You need to focus on what exactly is the core problem and actually root it out, change it, fix it. The reality of what I see, and there's a caveat here, is that if this is a one-off kind of problem, and if you've got loads of one-off problems, then that's an entirely different issue and bottleneck. But if this problem has happened more than once, twice, or potentially 3 times, you need to be looking at changing the process around it. Don't be adding new tools for the sake of adding new tools. Be clear on what exactly is the workflow. Take some time, step back, Look at what the workflow is to clarify exactly what should be happening and when. And don't just hire for the sake of hiring, because that is one of the default things that happens for most people. It's like, I just need to put another body here to solve for this problem. And that's largely not the problem in most instances, is that it's actually the system that is the issue more often. So refine, build, improve to allow for you to actually get to where you want to be.
Yeah, definitely. I think that one thing I will add is that people tend to go for the new shiny thing that says, "Oh, we'll fix all your problems here." It's like, "Oh, well, all I need is this tool." Oh no, and then next one's like, "Oh, this tool didn't do everything that we can do," and so it's like you're just kind of bouncing around instead of addressing like what is the actual core issue, right? That is something I see far too often, is trying to delegate away the pain, right? Of like actually going in and kind of fleshing out the wound, cleaning things out and making sure that it is flowing correctly. Is like, I rather delegate like away the things that are bugging me, or the bottleneck is, right? Instead of just addressing and moving kind of that traffic away from things.
I think a core of one of the biggest issues that I see is, I think that people are, because of the internet and marketing that is happening out there and socials, is that too many people are trying to hit the simple, easy button. That there's too many snake oil sales men and women out there that are selling that this is just easy. You need this one quick fix and it's going to solve all of your problems. And I'm sorry, but that's just not true. It is going to take work. It's going to take intention. It's going to take purposefulness. And you do need to pay attention to these items and do it with intention, do it with purpose. And if you're not doing it that way, you're going to be continually in the same place. And the biggest risk in your agency truly isn't that obvious. And that you need to take some time to actually think through it. It's what you need to look at: what is working, not working well enough, and what haven't you fixed yet that has become a problem that you can ultimately solve for, to allow for tomorrow to be better. That when you do add some fuel to the fire, that you're not going to actually have a meaningful bottleneck that not only just stems your growth or stops your growth, but potentially curtails it and has you shrink in the end. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening in today. With all of the shifts in the industry, it is easy to feel overwhelmed or unsure of your next move. So I'm not here to try to sell you anything. I just want to give back and guide you through the uncertainty. Whether you're navigating new trends or just need some clarity, we're here to listen and offer advice. Head to creativeagencysuccess.com/chat to book a free 15-minute chat with an agency mentor who can provide you with a fresh perspective. Let's figure out the best steps for your agency's growth together.